Thanks so much. I mean, you being here, it's a conversation that I've been wanting to have for a while now. And of course, I wanted to kind of wait until school let out. And, I see you on Facebook that you traveled and things like that, and you're back now, which is great. So now that a lot of the dust has settled, so to speak, we were talking a little bit earlier about people who make an impact on us. So as a former teacher myself, and as somebody who leads a school, I gotta imagine there's been just kids along the way that, and staff members along the way throughout your career who have made an impact on you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
You know what? It has been so many people that have made an impact on me. I mean, I've been in this profession for almost 30 years. I was a teacher for 16. I was a counselor, school counselor for 9, and assistant principal for 2. This is my third as a principal. But this is something that I feel so privileged. This is like a gift for me. Coming to work, coming to interact with my little ones. They're beautiful inside and out. In actually this morning I was talking, some of my students, I have them on Facebook as adults, and there was a post in one of them that she was struggling because now she's a single mom. She was one of my high school students a few years back. And I said, I remember telling her, you have it on you. There's an inner strength on you. I remember you were a go-getter. Don't give up. And there's those kids that you see that they have struggled in life because of their issues at home, but you see them as adults and they won't give up. There's so many of them that have impacted my life. And I keep them in my heart, close to my heart, because I see them as adults. I see them in Facebook. I see them in restaurants when we go out. And to me, it's just a joy to find them and see how well they're doing.
I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, I guess we have to get over the fact that when they do run into us and say, hey, do you remember me? And then we quickly realize how old we are. But
yes.
after that, it's funny because, you hit on something that's really, maybe we don't talk about a lot, right? I mean, because we're always hearing these stories about, hey, I ran into a former student and that student said, hey, you know what? Thank you. You made an impact. Everything was great. And those moments are awesome for ourselves and maybe our egos, right?
Definitely.
But it's not always the case when you come across somebody that you taught in the past and they're not doing so well, yet you were there at a moment in their life when they showed so much promise, where you recognize certain characteristics. And so reminding this particular student who's now a single mom of what those characteristics were, how did that former student respond?
Oh, she felt like, thank you. She actually said, thank you for reminding me that I could do it. Thank you for reminding me who I was back then. I said, hope I could see you again. We can meet again. And I said, definitely. My door here at school is open. I love to hear from them. These kids don't just need us while we're in school. They need our guidance as they leave as well. We've been there. We've gone through what they have gone through, many of us. So I'm definitely going to meet with her and let her know that I'm here for her. She was my former student, but that doesn't mean our relationship ends. Many times we need to continue with those students as they become adults, and they need that extra push because like you said, we saw them at their best. We saw them exceeding in school, but then life comes in. Life is, like they said, adulting is not easy.
Yeah, the real world, right? It kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. And I think that's a perspective, obviously, that we have. Did that resonate with you? Because, and we'll get into this a little bit further, but you have an incredible story. And the reason, I want to focus on greater than, right, for this channel, for the first rule of happiness in my last book, The Happy Manifesto, we all have that capacity to be greater than, even when we don't realize it. So maybe that's a good way of just talking about the last several years for you, because you've had, as many school leaders have, had to push through COVID at your campus, but then in your personal life as well. So let's just start from a campus standpoint. What was that like, having to navigate through the COVID experience, staff, kids, safety, homeschool, all that stuff? I mean, what was that like for you?
It was an experience that in it just greater than anything I have ever been in my life. COVID hit when we were in spring break of 2020. We had to come back. We didn't come back after that. We didn't come back after spring break, none of us. So I was still assistant principal, and during that summer, that's when I applied for the to become a principal at the elementary. I was at the high school level, middle and high school level as an assistant principal, and I moved to the in that August of 2020. I moved as the principal of the elementary. And it was challenging as it is, a new position, being a principal lead, no experience whatsoever. And to top it off, we have the pandemic. Our students did not come back that year. We had to go under virtual school. We had a small amount of students. Our school, it's about almost 700 students. For that year, we only had about less than 100. There was times that we only had 60. At one given point, but the challenges that we went, there were just things that unimaginable. We were hit really hard. Our school was one of the schools that was hit so hard when it comes to death. We lost about 12 family members. We didn't lose any staff members. We did lose our coach at the end of the school year, but it was due to another illness. But through COVID, we lost about 12 family members, and it hit it hard because the teachers were still teaching, students were still, we still had to go on. As we were losing family members, we still had to go on. There was no way for us to stop. Life had to go on. But it was every week we were losing a family member, a brother, a sister, a husband, a mother, a grandfather.
Right.
And it was, and to be able to stand and tell my staff, we're going to be okay. We're going to make it. We're standing as a family together in this. We're standing as a family. And so there were so many areas that were hitting us from every angle. Students at home stressed out because they could not function, especially our little ones, kinder. Imagine kinder through Zoom. Kids could not stay still.
Even talking to them, they have the 20-minute attention span when I'm in the classroom reading to them, right? And so I can't even imagine on Zoom. And you mentioned how you were just kind of taking it from all different angles. All the hits just kept on coming, but one in particular hit you right dead center. And you mentioned brothers, uncles, and also husbands. So while you were going through all of this at school and trying to keep that ship going, and it's got to keep sailing, as you say, we got to continue on. Talk to me about the loss that you suffered personally.
I lost my husband. I lost my husband in April of 2020. He was actually one of the first victims in El Paso, about 10 victim, number 10. He was battling leukemia, actually. We went to April 1st. We were already in spring break, and we talked about this. My husband was a biology professor at community college and at UTEP. Very well-known professor.
And very well-respected and well-liked.
Yes, in our community. He was a Dr. Lannutti, Dominic Lannutti. And so we talked about COVID, and then I remember he would tell me, everybody didn't have it, Adela. This is bound to happen. We just have to be careful. And so he was continuing teaching at community college through Zoom as well. But in April 1st, he was not feeling well. So I took him to the hospital in April 4th. And then I remember by then, hospitals were not allowing any family members to go in. So I said, it's probably nothing. I'll come back and pick you up. And I remember getting his phone call. No, Adela, you're not coming back for me. I was diagnosed with leukemia. And my husband was a strong man, 55-year-old, strong, in every possible way. And so we started with the chemo, and I was still in Zoom working with as an assistant principal. And so going back and forth to the hospital, I believe that's how he contracted the COVID, going in and out for chemo. In April 13, he came back going back into the hospital. He was coughing a little bit, so they tested him for COVID. So by April 15, we got the news that he was positive for COVID. So we had the struggles of okay, we have to keep on administering chemo because it was pretty aggressive, the leukemia. And so, but at the same time, you should have seen this man. He was in the hospital teaching. He had his computer. He was still teaching at the hospital till the end. I mean, sadly, by when he came back, it hit hard. They let us know that they had to keep on administering chemo. So there was going to be a time that his immune system was going to go down to zero. Right. He was not exhibiting any symptoms, but they let us know that that's when COVID could strike. And it did. It did hard. And that's when any person has gone through this and lost a family member, they know the horror that it was not to be able to be there with your loved one. And so he was at the hospital. We were FaceTiming, but the last few days was just not possible. And so he was diagnosed with COVID on the 15th, and he passed away on the 24th of April. So it was pretty quick. And but it was very traumatic experience. I remember going through it and thinking I was in a dream. When is this a nightmare? Not a dream, a nightmare. When is this going to be over? This nightmare. When is he coming back home? When is he going to be back to normal? We were able to fight leukemia because we know what to do. And
we didn't know what to do with
diagnosis. But COVID, it was hitting every organ. And so it was pretty traumatic experience. And so, but I remember through the process, I have to keep on going. I can't let this take over my emotions, my everything.
So what did you do? I mean, what did you rely on at that moment while you were going through all of those professional challenges, keeping the ship going? You were going through this personal experience and you describe it as this nightmare. Has it ended?
We do need a lot of emotional help for victims, for parents, for spouses that lost a family member, because it's very delicate times. It's a time of coming back into your core. Is it what really lift you up? And to me, it was my faith. There was no other way. I had to believe that there was a someone out there that was taking over me, that was protecting me, that was guiding me, that was leading me to be able to go through this trial, to lead my husband as the last few days. Everything is going to be okay. We're praying. And so he was slipping away. He was saying goodbye. And the sad thing, it was saying goodbye through a text. That's the most sad thing that you could ever experience. Not to be able to hold someone, to let go, not to be able to be there in the same room. And so I don't know. I think I was just like in a numb. You get numb. You get this numb. Your emotions are numb that you keep on going. You don't even know. It doesn't hit you because you can't stop. you can't be, you can't stop. You have to keep on going. So your emotions get numb. But there's times
Right.
that after he passed away, the fact that there was no funeral, there was no closure. There
Right.
was no closure whatsoever, because back then it was the first victims. They did not allow you to see them. It was a closed casket. You couldn't have a funeral. You couldn't have a viewing. You couldn't even go to the cemetery.
Yeah.
And he was buried with honors because he was a veteran, but I could not be there. It was, so there was a closure. There was no closure that I had to resolve on my own in my faith, knowing that we will see him again, knowing
Right.
that there's hope in the future.
So with that faith, and of course, as we know, our faith gets tested, right?
Yeah.
And we have to, in your case, rely on work, on moving. I mean, maybe that numb feeling is something that's built in. Maybe it's a survival mechanism that we have as
Yes.
as a species, right? To go through a numbness to get us through the tough parts with along with that faith. But what have you, looking back now, what have you learned about yourself throughout this whole process, just us sitting here?
You know what, I was stronger than I felt I was. There
Hmm.
was times that there was very difficult times, like I said, especially when our staff members were losing their loved ones, that I could not fall into pieces before their eyes. I had to be the strong one. And I remember the first semester after coming back to the new year, it was wham, one after the other one after the other one. And I remember going into the December for our break. That's when it hit me hard. I guess being out of activities for those 3 weeks,
Yeah.
that I was a complete mess. I guess taking everything and thinking, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. I remember thinking, what am I doing? Who am I lying to? I'm just as bad as they are.
Right.
I remember every time I have to write the email. It was like, it was a horrible way of communicating with my staff members, because I had to write an email again. So and so had lost a loved one. So and so, and it was so often that I remember going into the break and Christmas and falling apart. I said, Lord, I can't do this anymore. Every time one of the family members dies, I have to relive the
It's like pulling
same.
the scab. Yeah.
Exactly. I can't heal because I'm reliving with them the same horror, the same sadness, the same trauma of not being able to have closure. I think that pandemic really hit us hard in every sense, every way. And but I remember vividly that on that December, I said, um, that's going to be okay. You're going to go back and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I remember having a dream,
Mhm.
a dream, and it was so vivid. I don't remember the time. That I remember wanting to go back to my high school, and I was looking for the principal, and I was like, I need my job back. I don't want to be a principal anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't do it because I relived the same horror, the same experiences. I need my job back. And the
Yes.
principal wasn't there, but I remember you being in there. And I know that it's like, I remember your words in that dream that you said, Adela, you're going to be okay. Just wait until the end of the year and you will see that you will going to be okay and everything will be okay. And it was just, it was like out of nowhere. And I
That's
think
just,
you,
it is out of nowhere, because when you told me that story originally, I just thought, well, wait a minute. That just blew me away. I mean, that I, of all people,
I know, huh? I
me,
don't understand it,
tell
but
nobody to give
last time,
anybody advice.
but I don't know, maybe your empathy, I don't know what it is, but even you telling me that your middle name is my husband's first name. Dominic. I don't know. God has a way of, he does things in very strange ways. And
Absolutely.
he connects
Absolutely.
people in so many, and I don't know, maybe seeing your beautiful family, the way you love your children, your spouse, brought some sense of peace. That you
Maybe
were on
so.
that
I hope
journey.
so. They bring me a lot of peace, that's for sure, and a lot of
Exactly.
joy.
And that's what we all needed in that time. The fact that the peace to know that everything was going to be okay, and that somehow we were going to survive through this.
And where do you get your peace now? I mean, here it is. My father passed away, and I was pretty close to him. He passed away cancer in 2014, and it was a couple of days before my birthday. So it's kind of like a double whammy for me, right? Every time his anniversary comes along and everything, but I just found that it doesn't get easier, so to speak, but you do find ways of smiling. You remember things, funny stories, funny moments, and he had a lot of them. But where do you find your peace these days?
You know what? I do it through serving others. I belong to a missions group that we do go into people that they 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 have so many needs. And that reminds me of, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's going to be okay. I'm doing well. Last spring break, we got the opportunity to go to Brazil in the Amazons. And
Mm,
I remember going all the way over there and thinking, what am I doing here? uh, but I had the opportunity. Like once we went into the jungle, the poverty levels, the conditions that these people are, the indigenous, they're tribes that have no hope.
right.
And if we're able to give a little piece of hope to these people, that brings so much joy into my heart. We went into Peru as well, and we went to a village, and we were just, all we were doing is either taking food, a word of encouragement. But there was this particular home that we went, it looked like empty. There was like no one there. But as we were leaving, a young man came out, and had this sadness. The whole house was dark. He had so much sadness in his heart. And I said, are you okay? Would you like some food, this and that? And he said, yes, thank you for coming. And you're too young to be at home. He said, I can't get out, I have this injury. And he had a horrible injury in his foot.
Mm,
But that experience brought so much stuff to me, so much joy, so much, what can I say? If God allowed me, if the Lord allowed me to go from US, so we have very comfortable lives, into a jungle, just to touch a life, that did it for me. That just to tell this young boy, 21-year-old David, this is his name, there's hope for you. We were able to get him out. He was about to lose his foot. We were able to get him into the hospital. We were able to give him medicine, hope. He had
mhm.
completely lost hope. He was just gonna stay in that home, no utilities, no electricity, no water, just to die. And
Right.
if we're able to touch lives, I know that people say there's a lot of things here in US, people to help. Yes, definitely. But we have a lot of help as well. There's other regions in our world that don't ever get anyone to go help
We
them
just
out.
take so much for granted,
Yes.
and you said the magic word earlier, empathy and perspective, because you know I think maybe something that maybe helped you cope and continue to cope with loss, because again, it's always going to be a void that's not going to be there for us.
Definitely.
But as a coping mechanism, having that empathy for other people, I'm sure you were able to compare your situation with somebody else's and realize, wow, I mean, I thought my cross was a big cross to carry.
Exactly. That's what we need to start looking. Once we have lost perspective, we have lost hope. Just turn around and see there's other people in worse conditions than us. Just get out there, get out of your home, your comfort, get out of your pity zone. And you'll see that there's so much to do out there, so many people to touch, so many people that just need a word of encouragement. If we have not gone to Peru on last March, that boy would have died. He was ready to die. And to me, it was like, wow, I was able to do this I felt, oh my God, I'm so much in pain. Why should I even go? No, forget about that. You live through others, you live helping, brings you joy. Everything you give comes back to you, and you have a new sense of life, love for your life.
That's amazing. And so, I mean, obviously this is something that's absolutely important to you, and it's almost not transformed you, because I think you've always had this in you. I think we all have the capacity to be understanding, to have empathy, to look at somebody else's situation and understand that I'm not the only one that goes through this. I mean, I think it was a priest that told me after my father died, he said, okay, look, let's just break it down here. Okay. You're not the only one. And I had to come to that realization. It's like, even though you feel like you're alone, you're on an island, but you have support, and then you understand that, wait a minute, so many people have gone through what I'm going through right now, and they've been able to move on and carry on and learn, and maybe become better people. So how are you different now, having gone through just such a miserable experience over the last few years in your personal life and your professional life? But how are you different now afterwards, as opposed to 3 years ago?
You know what? I enjoy life every moment. I am grateful for everything I've done, and I'm grateful for anything that I have received and for everything that I have gone through. It has created a different person. Oh, definitely less selfish, in with more empathy for those who struggle with addiction, with depression. There's a lot of depression, especially after the pandemic. A lot of depression, a lot of mental health issues, illnesses. I'm more empathetic to those people that they're still struggling with the death of their family members, and they don't have a way out. There is a way out. It's pushing ourselves. There's days that you don't want to get up out of that bed, but we have to. It's survival. We have to move on. We have to. The minute that we start moving, we start receiving the desire to live. I am very different. I am. I enjoy little things. I enjoy being with family. I enjoy building relationships. I enjoy being around people, just talking about every little thing.
Yeah. And how's that translated professionally too? I mean, that's in your personal life, but how is that transferred over into the professional side?
I believe it has. I believe it has. Our school is doing very well emotionally. Social emotional learning is taking place in our school. We do have we do some circles where we talk about our issues, our what's going on, everything. We have become closer as a staff, as a family, as we're becoming stronger, and it reflects on this, even on the scores of our kids. We had a whole bunch of students coming full of fears. They feel safe in our school. They feel safe. They enjoy being here.
Let me tell you, having been through so many campuses, not only here in El Paso, but just all over the place, you can instantly recognize as you walk through, get your little badge, sign in at the front office, and all of that. You can tell within the first 30 seconds what kind of an experience what kind of an atmosphere, because you can feel that atmosphere, you can feel that culture. And having walked into your campus, I absolutely knew that it was just a different place. And I can say that with all honesty, because the first experience that I had was, well, first of all, at the high school when you were there as an assistant, and I got to speak to kids, but at the elementary, it was through Zoom. And then from there, having, you know, the comparison from Zoom then onto the campus itself, I felt it. And so I know you're doing really, really great work out there and making a big difference in a lot of people's lives.
And it's a team effort. I have an amazing assistant principal, amazing teachers, that we have gone through so much that it has united us. We're there for each other. Teachers are there for teachers. They're fast to say, how can we help you? I know you're going through stuff, knowing that they feel that we appreciate them. They feel that we truly care for them. And the students feel the same way. The students feel safe. They feel that they can come to our school and they're going to be okay. They feel this is a place where they enjoy being. You see them running up in the halls, happy. It's a happy place. And
it is.
But it's a happy place that came from a very painful experience that we all went through it. And pain was transformed into a different place.
Well, I hope we can all learn from that. I mean, honestly, you're nailing it right on the head. I mean, it came from something that was terrible, but we've learned how to understand, deal with it in our ways, you know, together through empathy, through love, and a lot of emotional support. Yes. And grow from that. And you know, so many great analogies can be, you know, you can describe your process now with so many great analogies. But you know, Adela, I admire you. I admire your staff and everybody that has gone through this tremendous pain of the last couple of years through COVID and all of the loss. And I just wish you guys nothing but the best, man. And I really thank you so much for your time and for joining me.
No, thank you. It was great to talk about it. Sometimes it's good to do it.
Well, as I said before, you know, as a storyteller, part of my job is to tell other people's stories. And yours was absolutely one of them that I needed to have people hear. So thanks so much. I appreciate your time and best of luck. I'm always here for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see you soon.
Oh, absolutely. Just say when.